Megan Throckmorton isn't afraid to jump in her truck and drive 80 miles as long as the rates work out and her favorite restaurant is on the way home.
Should have probably said, no, I don't want to go that far. But honestly, it's hard for me to say no. And then when I priced it and I was like, well, whatever. And Fish and Pig is on the way and I love to eat there. So I said, I'll just make eat at my favorite place on the way home. I love barbecue, man. I'll tear it up.
Leaving what she thought was her childhood dream job as a teacher has led her to her true calling, the Septic Queen of the South. Listen in. So I'm with Megan Throckmorton. That's a mouthful. Did I say that right?
You did. And yeah. Yep.
So I'm going to start off. I'm going to start off. I was hard to research your company because you've gone through like 4 name changes in the last several years.
Well, I started off as Harrison Sons Septic LLC in 2021. And then recently in the end of 2024, beginning of 2025, I'm transitioning into Megan Septic Services. So,
but wasn't there a Southside Septic too, or did I just in my research wrong?
No, you did your research right. When I was trying to get my website, I'm not very technology intelligent whatsoever. And I was trying to get like a website, whatever, going when we first got started because I was trying to get everything going so fast. I needed like a domain. And I was like, that sounded good. But then when it came to naming the business, before I actually filed the LLC and named the business, I named it like 15 times. And
so you named now you have an LLC, Megan Septic Service.
Yeah, my new LLC, all I did really was DBA. I do business as Megan Septic Services LLC.
So can I make a suggestion? And it's probably way too late now, but you should have talked to me before. On social, you're the Septic Queen, and I think that's a great business name.
Everybody does, and I love it, but it's like, I don't know. It's like that's my brand.
There's so much identity there. I think you're missing the boat.
Yeah, well, that's like my brand. But when I went to naming it, because I basically got divorced, and I was trying to get the Harris. I named it Harrison Sons after my 3 sons, basically. And my last name, I never changed my last name after I got married. I always stayed Throckmorton. Well, I was trying to, rebrand because my ex-husband had started his own company and he just works in Carolina. I work both states. People were getting us confused because his is just Harris Septic. And I said, okay, I've got to do something to just separate that gap or whatever. And a lot of people were like, do Septic Queen. But it was like I couldn't visualize it like I wanted to or whatever. And I was like, well, and everybody, I'm from like a small town, rural area. And everybody would call like Harrison Sons Megan's anyway because I was like the only woman. I'm like the only woman. And everybody knows me because if you're a Throckmorton, you know everybody for some reason. Small town, big family. Anyway, so I was like, okay. And it was short and my truck is small. So it was short, sweet, to the point. And I said, perfect. We'll just roll with that. And I was like in a motion to where I was like, I got to get it going. And I'm a very visual person. So I get on Canva and I was trying to kind of make logos and stuff like that. That way I can visualize it when I'm trying to name something, right?
Were you using the Canva AI generator? Have you tried that yet?
Yeah, I do like that. That works
thing is
good.
Insane.
Yeah, well, I made something with Septic Queens on it, and it was like, I think it's because it's Septic Queens, because I didn't like just Queens Septic or anything like that. I was like Septic Queens. And it was like, do I put service on it or Septic Queen septic tank pumping? I mean, it just didn't flow like I wanted it to when I was trying to put it on a logo and just visualize everything. But then I made mine and it just like was perfect. And I was like, I love it because I got a little poop emoji with a bow on it and a hose. And I just thought it looked legit. So it just
I don't want to talk you out of Megan Septic Service. I just thought that the Septic Queen had so much like appeal, especially when you're trying to give yourself an identity and you already went by that. Cause I can totally picture your logo as the Septic Queen. And I wouldn't even say like Septic Queen Service. You're the Septic Queen. Call the Septic Queen.
Yep. Yeah. Well,
but anyway, we digress. You didn't do it. So let's not go down that road.
Well, you know, we have employees and stuff too. So I kind of envisioned I eventually will have like at
Good
least two
good
trucks.
call.
Yeah, so I figured I was gonna have like two trucks going. Eventually, like my goal for the end of the year is to get another truck, and I was like, having that going, I just felt like Megan's Septic Services. Well, if it was just me and always gonna be me, Septic Queen would have been the way to go, or the Septic Queen would have been the way to go. But I've got to get employees, or I'm gonna be in a wheelchair by the time I'm
You
40.
you raise a
Because I,
good point. You raise a good point. Like when I show up to pump the tank and someone goes, "So you're the septic queen," and I have to
yeah,
say, "I am indeed, I am." Okay,
yeah.
so I'm going to go backwards a little bit. We got off track. So you are a high school teacher back like in the COVID era, right?
Yep. Yes.
And you're sitting at home during COVID. You've got three kids at the time. One's
Yeah.
kind of an infant, right?
No, yep. I had him in September. They called us home. They told us to teach from home during COVID. So I actually never had to take maternity leave because I was teaching from home anyway. I just like went and had my baby one day and then came back and I just kept on putting stuff in I was like, why y'all gonna take my money when I'm gonna be at home putting it in anyway? Like, this ain't my first rodeo. It's my third kid. Like, whatever.
So you
And
knew what to expect.
yeah,
But
and
you're teaching from home, right? And then they
yeah,
called you and said it's time to come back to school, and you're like, hold up, hold tight.
peace. Yeah, peace out. It was like literally the salary I was supposed to be making was like 45 a year. After insurance and taxes came out, it was like I was paying a babysitter and then paying bills and having like enough left over to buy a pack of freaking nabs, and I like had taken the permit thing, the class in Carolina in January anyway. So that was like, in the picture, like planning. But I just, in February when they called us back, I just hit fast forward. I was, and I already had, so I worked two jobs. I was a high school agriculture teacher. I taught landscaping, and I also managed the downtown South Boston Farmers Market. So, I had that little extra there. So basically, I pulled all of my retirement, resigned from my position, and worked the farmer's market while I looked for the truck and got all that situated. And we started pumping like August of 2021. So,
How did you get your licensing and all that figured out? So were you originally licensed you work out of North Carolina and Virginia, right?
yes.
So you have to be
So,
licensed in both states.
yes. So, I'm from Virginia. My ex husband is from North Carolina, but it's right on the state line. So we got the license in Carolina. All you really have to do in Carolina to get a license is take this 8-hour course. At the time, they were doing it online, like it was a video type thing, and take a little test, and boom, you can pump. Um, After I pumped, we got our permit to pump. We started pumping septic tanks or whatever in August. I liked it and I wanted to do more. And I wanted a way that I could contribute um, while my ex husband like pumped. So you can get in Carolina that you have to do a separate school or class and exam for your septic inspection license. So I went ahead and got my septic inspection license in Carolina that, like, I don't know, November, by October, November. And then when I started advertising licensed septic inspections, all my friends from Virginia, because I know a ton of people and a lot of them are realtors, they started reaching out like all the time, asking if I was licensed in Virginia. That, there was only one company at the time in Virginia doing it. And so and it's a lot of real estate transactions going on, and a ton of realtors over in our area. So they kind of kept on and kept on. So I researched to see what I needed to do to get my license in Virginia. My uncle has his installer license in Virginia. So in Virginia, you basically have to get there's different grades of licenses. Like, the lowest one is like a journeyman. And then, you take a exam to move up to the master or whatever. And then you just keep your CEs up every, 2 years to keep that license.
This is in
My,
Virginia.
yeah, this is in Virginia. The only thing you gotta do to keep your license in Carolina is do your, I think it's six, like a
CEUs.
class. Yes, yeah, six of those a year and reapply every year. You're good to go. When you have your inspector, I think it's like 8 and you're good to go every year.
Time is running out. Are you registered for North America's premier wastewater event? The Wet Show is just around the corner, happening February 17th to the 20th in Indianapolis. Don't miss your chance to explore an expansive expo hall, discover the latest products and services, network with industry peers, and attend accredited sessions for continuing education hours. Register now before it's too late at wetshow.com. That's www.show.com.
In Virginia, you need like 16 every 2 years or something like that to keep it going. But to initially get it, you have to have like experience. So my uncle was an installer at the time. He signed, since he held a license in Virginia as an installer.
And you worked under him?
Yeah, like growing up and stuff. So he signed for me to get my journeyman operator license. And so we were able to come over here in Virginia. And in Virginia, they don't regulate inspections and stuff like they do in Carolina. So when you have that operator's license, you can basically do septic inspections, pump septic tanks, whatever. There's 2 grades. There's there's 2 different kinds. There's a conventional, to where you can work on just conventional systems, or you can get an alternative, and that's when you can work on all the alternative systems and conventional. So I went ahead and got my journeyman my journeyman alternative operator's license. And then I had so much time to go and take the exam. You have to go take an exam that's like timed. It's open book, but it's like 20 books, and it's timed up there in like Roanoke. So I went and took that, and that's why I hold now a master. I have the highest license you can have as an operator. It's a master alternative operator license in Virginia. And so I can work on all kinds of alternative systems. I can do inspections. I can do residential pump outs, anything like that. Like I think I can even do water testing.
Let me pause you. So you've got this Virginia license, and from what you're telling me, it sounds like the Virginia license is more valuable because it's harder to get. Is that a fair statement?
So yeah, I would say so. But recently, Carolina and Virginia, very recently, like this just happened, are practicing reciprocity now.
Oh.
So I'm not sure which way. I don't know how that works because I already have mine, and I don't open up my brain to think about it. But I did see where John Godfrey and them had talked about it, the reciprocity thing, because a lot of people in Carolina that live right on the state line thing are starting to go over in Virginia and get their licenses because when you live on,
the North Carolina was the easier one.
Yeah, I think the North Carolina one was the easiest one. Virginia says that you need this, and this, and that you need all these classes and whatever, but they don't regulate any of it. So you have to do your research to figure out like what classes you need or anything like that. And like when you say, okay, so where do y'all offer classes, whatever? Oh, they don't. You have to like go get a class, whatever, and then show it to them, and they'll look at it and say, oh yeah, you can take that and we'll take it. I'm like, what?
So what's your business split between the 2 states? Is it like 50-50 or no?
I would say 50-50. Nowadays, I see myself, especially since I moved back to Virginia, I see myself in Virginia a little more. But honestly, it comes in spurts because some weeks it's like Roxboro. And others, it's just like all Virginia, maybe one day in Roxboro. So when I'm doing scheduling, especially since now I'm in my 3rd year, you get it pumped every 3 to 5 years. When people call me for scheduling for their routine, I keep up with everything in Tank Tracker. And so I can look around at someone close by and make it worth my while to, do a day here in Roxboro or whatever. I work a bigger area in Virginia. Like in Virginia, I go all the way to Brunswick County and Lunenburg. And like right now I'm in this is as far north as I've ever been. I'm in Dillwyn right now.
Just so you know, you're speaking to a national audience. So right now you might as well be speaking a different language.
Chinese.
You're laying out locations nobody understands. So talk miles. Like what's your radius?
So, oh my goodness, that's so hard too. So
50-mile radius?
Oh, it's 100 probably. It's like right now I think I'm 70 miles from home.
How is that efficient then? Are you just making sure you charge appropriately?
Oh yeah, no, I add mileage. I'll tell them like this job here, I'm in Dillwyn. It's 69 miles away from my house. And I just told her it's for an inspection. And I said, listen, my base cost for an inspection in a 20-mile radius is $650. I said, if I go up there, I said, I would love to do it. I said, but for me to have to miss out on these other jobs on my schedule, because I stay packed, and to drive that far, it's going to be like $1,100,
Yeah, because you got 3
minimum.
hours in time just driving.
Minimum. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what they said? Cool, come on. And then they called me a few days later and they said, hey, we want to make sure it's worth your while, so we got one for you on your way back in.
Oh,
So I've got
nice.
two. So, I mean, who would do it? Like, it's a little bit of miles on the truck. I just put a new Cummins in it, though. Jesus, got to wear it, got to open her up a little bit.
So you made a comment. I don't know if we were recording when you made the comment. You said, I just have a small truck. Do you currently just have one truck?
I just have one truck.
Is it like a 1,500 gallon or smaller?
No, it's 2,000 gallon. It's a International 4,300. That was
so that's kind of a one pump, one tank truck.
No, it's two. So around here we have like 1,000-gallon tanks, so I can do two in here.
So you've got a 2,000-gallon truck, and you can squeeze two tanks in there. We'll act like we didn't hear that. And you can squeeze two tanks in there. So you're efficient running that way?
Yeah, no, it's perfect actually, because of the area and stuff that I run. And I run a lot of lake property, and I run basically 4 different lakes: Lake Gaston, Bugs Island Lake, or if you're not from around here, Kerr Lake, Mayo Lake, Hyco Lake. And with the elevations and driveway sizes and stuff like that, this
easier to get
thing,
in and out and stuff like that.
Oh my goodness, it's great. And like, I don't usually even go across people's yards or anything like that. But if I have to, I mean, it's so small. I don't have to worry about tearing anything up. One good thing, it's under CDL. So when I'm ready to break the chains, which is very hard for me to get out of the driver's seat, I feel like it's going to be a lot easier to hire because they don't have to have a CDL. It's very easy to maneuver in and out. So I feel like just about anybody that can, that can drive a bigger vehicle can drive it pretty easily. And then with the tank size, when I get, normally for my routine, I always have like 2 in a certain area. So it works out because I can do those 2, go to a dump, and then kind of go to a different area and do 2 more. So like if I had when I weighed the options, because I'm talking with Amther now and I'm about to build another truck. I think I'm going to end up sticking under CDL again, just because with the cost of driving, all the cost of being over CDL, fuel, dump fees and things like that, and then having to pay somebody more for having a CDL to drive it, the upkeep, maintenance and stuff like that. Even though I would be able to, if I had a 4,000-gallon tank, I could do 4, like basically 4 calls. It's really, I still would be spending way more money than I got back. I'd still be more efficient, which sounds so weird, but I like crunched all the numbers. I'm still more efficient running smaller.
It's not the norm, but I mean, I'm glad that you're taking that perspective because most people don't. But in your situation, it works. A lot of that too, as you mentioned, smaller driveways, things like that. There's sometimes you need a small truck like that, and I get it. So you get into this business, and we're talking trucks now, and you did all this number crunching. You haven't been doing that this long. Like, you don't know what you don't know. So when you came into this blind, like, how were you figuring? You mentioned you're using Tank Tracker. Like, were you originally? Like, how did you figure all this out from day one? You know what I mean? You can just hop in a truck and start pumping. You don't even know where to bring it.
Yeah. So it all happened because, like, my ex-husband was a general contractor, and he built a barn for a guy that had been in the septic business for like 40 years. And he actually built it, in my hometown on some family land, like Throckmortons had owned that land. And so as he's doing this, like, I'm teaching, it's hard to find, he framed this barn up, and it's hard to find like labor for that whole business because, sorry, I got choked. It's hard to find anybody that can like breathe and hold a driver's license and hold a hammer all at the same time around here sometimes for it to frame houses and do construction work. So he was having an issue of just finding labor. Well, as he's telling Scotty about all this and he's building this barn for Scotty been in the septic industry in Durham for like 40 years. And he was like, y'all should really look into getting a pumper truck because there's not many businesses around here. And, y'all would probably do pretty good with it because I advertised it at a lot of marketing for the farmer's market. He knew that's what I did and
So
stuff like
did he
that.
steer you down the right path right from the get-go?
Well, Scotty, he told me where to look and how to get my license in Carolina. And basically, I'm a big researcher anyway. I've always loved continuing education and stuff like that. And so at first, I was like, I'm not doing that. Like, if you would have asked me 4 or 5 years ago if I'd be pumping septic tanks right now, I'd be like, you're freaking nuts. But anyway, like I just never would have imagined it. And I never would have thought would fall in love with it. But anyway, looked at the permit and the steps, and I was like, well, that's not that bad. And then, he runs 1,500-gallon trucks and lower because he works a lot of, like, when he worked in Durham, it was a lot of like, what do you call it when houses? I live in the rural, so we don't have these like cul-de-sacs.
Yeah.
When the houses are right on top of each other. He had to do a lot of pumping in those situations, so he needed smaller. And he's the one that basically said, because neither one of me or Joe, either one had a CDL. So he was like, y'all need to just find you one under CDL to start with. And I kind of crunched numbers and I looked at the average size of a tank and I was like, dude, 1,500 is not going to be enough for me. I said, if I can get a 2,000-gallon truck under CDL, like with an aluminum tank, I said, that's what I'm going to go for because I'll be under CDL, but I'll still have enough, for that extra. And so anyway, I got to researching and looking around at different trucks and prices. And I asked Joe, basically, I said, listen, this isn't a bad idea. I said, I'm not making that much at the school. I said, so like if I were to buy a pumper truck, would you help me operate it until I could either hire somebody or run it myself? And he basically told me, he was like, oh, yeah. He said, yeah, I'll help you. He said, but you'll never be able to finance a pumper truck. He was like, that's a lot of money. And I was like, in for. So I called around and looked. And I think in Pumper Magazine, they had it in an ad. And John Goodman out of Denver, Colorado had 2 international trucks for sale that were basically international chassis with brand new tanks and pumps on them. And I didn't want anything that I had to work on. And I was like, dude, they're low mile. So I called him. And he used to be in the septic industry as well. I called John and, he's in Denver, Colorado. I talked to him and I told him what I needed. And he was like, well, he said, I feel like one of these would be perfect for you. And I was like, yeah. I said, I've got to talk to the bank and figure out what to do, about that. I said, because I'm right at my limit to what I want to spend or whatever. And I got to be careful because I got to be able to finance it. And he said, let me tell you something. I don't care if it takes you 6 months. This truck ain't going anywhere until you can get it.
And you bought that truck kind of new used. You said new tank?
Yeah, it only had 51,000 miles on it when I got it. And so
that's the one you just put a new engine in, or do you have a new truck now?
No. Same one I put the engine in. It had a Max Force in it, so I blew it up. But hey, whatever. It was a Max Force. It was a piece of shit anyway. but yeah. So anyway, so he did. He waited like 2 or 3 months while I talked to. It wasn't that I couldn't get financing. It was I couldn't get the financing I wanted because I didn't want like crazy interest. I want to put it down. I literally had it down on paper to a T, exactly what I was going to charge, how many tanks I needed to pump a month to be able to pay our bills and pay for the truck and whatever. Like I had it down written, like what I needed. So I had called around and I talked to my first cousin who worked for a loan agent at American National. And she said, dude, call Susan McLam. And I called Susan. She called me back. I was about to go inside and pick up food for the kids at a Thing to Light. And she called me and I had literally 2 minutes to tell her exactly what I wanted. And I just spilled it all down to all the statistics, what I needed, the truck, what it cost, whatever. And she was like, okay. And she said, well, do you think you're going to have enough work around here? And I said, I had looked up the statistics of people that were on septic in the 3 counties around me. And I said, this is how many people there are. You're supposed to get it done every 3 to 5 years. This is how many companies that are there now. I said, so basically 4 or 5 more septic companies could open up and we still couldn't serve this area. And she was like,
your counties have maintenance programs where they have to be pumped by the county regulation. So every 3 years.
Well, no.
inspected or pumped?
So so conventionals don't. Alternatives do. Alternatives have to be checked every year.
Right.
So that's why I have a lot of
ATUs are
my.
every year, but even in Wisconsin, your conventional in the county we're in, you have to be pumped or inspected every 3 years.
Yes. Yeah. So here in Virginia, they were supposed to be getting alternatives checked every year. Well, they didn't enforce it. They just sent out letters last year to start enforcing that. And when I go online, because you have to go online and like put all the info into the health department website. Well, when you go on there, there's a tab right beside alternative that says conventional. And I've told everybody, I said, listen, they've already started enforcing alternative. I said, you give them 2 years, they're going to start enforcing conventional. I
Yeah.
said, because there's already a tab for it for me to have to enter it in the computer.
Yeah. Well, that's
I
good for
said,
you.
oh, no, it's great. No, dude. Oh, yes, I love it. But yeah, I
So
tell
you,
everybody all the
so you
time.
got this truck from Goodman out of Colorado, and you did the math on it. You ended up getting a loan. How many weeks, months, or years is it before you're hitting the numbers that you wanted to hit to make this a business?
So August is when we started. We started at the end of August 2021. We probably did maybe 10, 15 tanks the first, because let's see, September, October, November, December. So that's 4 months. We, did like probably September, did like, 10, 15 tanks. October, like around the same. Well, in November is when I got my inspector license. So then we bumped it up a little more. December is when I got licensed in Virginia. When I got licensed in Virginia, we literally went from doing maybe 20 tanks a month at most to doing 40, 50, 60. And I think June of 2022 or July of 2022, I did 84 septic tanks.
So you said something there, and it makes sense. We talked earlier about it's easier to get the license in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So you had less work in North Carolina, it sounds like, because as soon as you got your Virginia license, basically is when the business took off.
So also, fun fact, North Carolina, the competitors we had like 4 or 5 different competitors in Carolina. And I didn't know that many people in Carolina. But, we had, 4 or 5 or 6 really different, competitors right there in our area. So in Virginia, I had one.
That's because there's tougher license, though, I would think.
I don't know. I think some people are scared of shit. Like they don't like when I dig the hole to do the work, honestly. Because we come out there and do it, and they really think they think that I'm like, the septic queen. They think I'm the coolest person in the world because I dug a hole and I suck shit out of the ground. I love it.
Well, you are.
But they really think that I'm the bomb. I'm just like, they're just like, I can't believe you did that. I can't. And like these people are like, and they, like, oh man, older man like this Vietnam vet that's so nice. Got me to pump his tank one time. He had never gotten it pumped, and he thought I was the coolest thing since sliced bread, man. They call me and they think I'm a secretary. And then I pull up on the job and then I do it. And they're just like, they think it's the coolest thing. And
Then
I
they
love
learn
it.
you're the septic queen.
They were like, no wonder. And they just think and then they're like ready. Like, so when do you come back? And I'm like 3 to 5 years, unless you get like a clog or something, And they're like, I'll see you in 3 years. And I'm like, 10-4.
So speaking of see you in 3 years, you're using Tank Tracker. Why don't you just schedule that right away?
No, I do. I have I use the Linktree thing, and on Tank Tracker when I enter all their info, I'll ask them before I leave the job. I'm like, so do you guys want to get a free or a reminder like in 3 to 5? And they're like, oh, of course.
Yeah.
And they give me all their info. So yeah, put it in like that.
So you hit that breaking point where you're doing like 70, 80 tanks. You said that was
the
December?
top. No, that was it started in December, but by the following June, July is when we were like July was like our biggest month for some reason. And then like if you did it at all average, I would say at the time we were doing, because I was able to inspect while he pumped tanks, we were doing anywhere from like 60 to 75 jobs a month.
So what are you doing now?
Now I've like a ton, but I'm by myself, so I can't do as much. I do them on the weekends. During the week, I think I do How much have I done this week? I'm doing at least 20 to 25. Depending. Like today, I'm in Deal Win and I got to go to Farmville after this. I would only do two, but money wise, I'm only doing two jobs, but I'm making way more money. So
Because these are the ones that were further away.
yeah, so I'll profit more off of today from just doing these two than I would have. Hold on, somebody's calling me. Okay, sorry. Than I would have if I would have done like 4 normal pump outs like in my 20-mile radius.
So at this point, you're definitely supporting yourself. Like the business is profitable.
Oh,
You're
that's
covering.
the only thing, dude. That's the only thing feeding my kids. Like I'm a single mom, and my ex-husband does not pay any money on the kids at all. I have $2,200 in childcare a month with tuition, um, daycare, and after school. It's $2,200 a month. I bought a house in March. I support them solely on this. This is what Beanie Weenies are made of.
So what do you want to do?
And
Like,
Pop
what's your
Tarts.
plan? Are you going to hire help? Or do you think this is the way it should be? Just you
Yeah,
and a truck?
no. No. I'll die. Oh my! I'll be in a wheelchair. I need help. I needed help months ago, but my truck was out for 7 months. So getting the Cummins put in it. So I told myself when I got my truck back mid-October, I had some catching up to do. I said mid-October, I'm gonna run by myself and get back into it and get, tone back up. And then before it gets hot, like maybe Marchish, I'll go ahead and hire somebody to work with me in the truck. And that way by summer, I won't kill anybody new because it gets hot here in the summer. So that was my plan. But like, honestly, even now, and I've had my truck back since like mid-October, I still have jobs on the list. And I had people that were calling the 7 months that my truck was out. They were like, oh, it's okay. Put us on the list whenever you get it back. And they waited for me. The sweetest thing ever. I have the best clients, but they did. I had like 80 some tanks on a list. And then when I got my truck back, I announced, I put it on social media. I was like, finally got it back. I'm so excited. Oh my goodness. It was like call, call, call. Like my phone was ringing all day long. People like reminded me that they were on the list. New people, the emergencies on the weekend. From October to like January, I took 3 days off.
So
I
what are
was
you
running
doing to find help?
emergencies. I just put stuff on social media. I know a few people. Like I had a guy help me last week that was great. He just has another job too, so he's just working part-time. But I basically just tell him like, I need help with the digging because I don't want to put a mini on here because my truck's small. And honestly, you don't need one. Like they're not that bad. By the time we pull the mini off, I could have dug the hole. But I need help digging, pulling hoses and stuff. And like when the job is done and we've pumped the tank, I like to have somebody out there cleaning everything up while I'm able to talk to my client or the homeowner, because I want to be able to tell them, hey, if everything looked great, hey, it looks great. Then we can schedule for the next 3 to
So you
5
don't
years or
plan on
talk.
running a second truck. You just plan on running like a helper?
No, at first it's going to be a helper, but then, once I get the other truck built, then I'll find somebody else with the one in here.
Because they would
And
have to have a license too.
yeah, so I want, because I would like to be able to run a truck that's just doing the pump outs, the residential pump outs. And then for my truck, I would like to just do emergencies, maybe a pump out if, they got backed up, and inspections. So
So that's what
that's
you're
kind
working toward, but you're not there yet because you haven't found the right person.
I haven't found the right person, and it's just been so overwhelming because I have so much, which is a blessing, but I've just got so much going on right now.
So
And
what's the hardest part for you? Is the hardest part for you just like organizing all of the work and getting it scheduled and, or I mean,
no, well, no, I think the biggest thing, well, it kind of can be scheduling. I don't know. Like, I feel like the hardest part for me is trusting somebody else in here in this truck, because I like the flexibility of me just running it. Um, I think, I don't know, because the work to me is not even that hard. or anything like that. I think the scheduling, and because I run such a big area, can be a big challenge for me because, I try to schedule all my Carolinas on this day. And then, like today, I'm in Dillon, so I try to schedule stuff around here on this day. And then, the ones in Virginia, Halifax is one of the biggest counties in Virginia. So if I have a few in this area of Halifax, I try to get everybody over here. And it's just a lot of, looking at your list, and you have these, and here this emergency comes up. So you want to do this emergency tomorrow. So then you're pulling people from over here to put here to make your time efficient.
Do you think
And
you could maybe be more profitable and efficient if you just scaled back your service area?
yeah, but I can't say freaking no.
So
And
that's
there's
on
not,
you.
yeah, there's not a lot of, yeah, it's on me. It's me all day. Cause just like this, like I should have probably said, no, I don't want to go that far. But honestly, it's hard for me to say no. And then when I priced it and I was like, well, whatever. And Fish and Pig is on the way and I love to eat there. So I said, I'll just make eat at my favorite place on the way home. So yeah, like I love barbecue, man. I'll tear it up. But anyway, yeah, it's on me. I make my own chaos. I honestly, but right now we're still so new. I'm on the 3rd year mark. So, people are calling to start getting it done again. And I feel like I'm at the perfect point to get this other truck straight. So while I'm trying to get this truck going and find a crew for this one, it's just all going to be happening at the same time. And honestly, it's harder on me because I wear way too many hats. Because of course I do all the work, all the scheduling, all the bookkeeping, all the social media, all the everything. And then I have
It's not going
three.
to get easier with a second truck or second employee, though. And that's where I'm starting to question, like, are you sure you're making the right choice instead of just scaling back and learning to say no? Because the way you're talking is your biggest problem. You just admitted is you can't really let go of that. You want to be in control.
Yeah, and
So
I've got to make myself step out though of the truck and have a crew doing the physical labor. Honest, like that's for my health. And
that's what I'm
and,
observing,
and
honestly.
that's the hardest part for me, but it's just one of those things where I'm a procrastinator and I'm going to have to do it. And so that's what I'm working toward is having a crew in this truck. And then, because I don't want to step down my service area because really there's not enough pumpers in these areas. And that's why they call me too. Um, but I think with me running, because the truck that I kind of want is going to be smaller because the dump fee is way cheaper. The dump fee for a smaller truck is like $15, where I'm paying 95 for this one. So if I have a truck to just do like emergencies and inspections on, and that's what I focus on because I get enough inspections a month to, be just fine. I said, I think I'll do that portion of it. That way I'll have enough time to have like, maybe a day off to do office stuff or 2 days off to do office stuff during the week. If I'm the one running the emergencies on the weekend and then just, doing the inspections and let a crew run the routine pump offs and stuff, just Monday through Friday. But I'm just at the point where it's just like trying to shoot and grow so quick. I can't kind of like keep up with it. And then trying to find the help and stuff while everything is going on. Personally, I just have like a ton going on with the 3 boys. And, I bought the house last March and divorce and business and just a lot all in one. So, but
So
it's going to get better.
this is probably going to make your head explode because it doesn't sound like you figured out this year yet. But where do you see this in 10 years then?
In 10 years? Oh, yeah. And well, how old is my kid? My kid's 10. I'm hoping my oldest kid will want to run a truck because he's really good. He helps and he's very good. So in 10 years, I'd like to have at least 2 trucks running, them full time. Um, and I would like to, I don't ever, because I love hands-on work. Always have, always will. I went to Virginia Tech and that's where I learned how to AI cows and stuff like that. And I've always been real hands-on. So I don't want to fully step out, but in 10 years, I still want to be able to get in my truck when I want to or do inspections. Like I still want to have my own, truck.
So in a
But I
perfect
could,
world, though, you kind of said you hope your boys are interested and there can be a succession plan there, like mom
yeah,
hands it
so
off to boys.
about that. I will. I don't know about handing it all the way off. I have three of them, so eventually, yes. When I'm like old and a grandma, and I need like a lift to get in the truck or something, but you know, I I want them to have an option. I want them to be able. I don't want to pressure them to be in the business, but I want them to always have that option as a backup just in case they decide to go do something. And maybe just like me, I always want to be a freaking ag teacher. And I was an ag teacher for 3 years and I hated it. And I was like, man, I want to do this my whole life. This sucks. And that happens with so many people. And I just want to let my kids know that they always have the business to come back to. um, whether they want to run a truck, or maybe one of them may want to expand the porta johns. Not me, because I would rather pee in the woods than pee in a greenhouse. But hey, to each their own, man. If they want to do it, we'll do it. I would like to eventually get like some event, bougie wedding event. Like I call them like bougie toilets or whatever. Like some fancy
The
bathroom
trailers.
trailers. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to have some of those just to do for events. Like I don't want the kind that are on job sites, but I don't want to have to clean those. But I feel like that the business and in septic, there's enough avenues for expansion to where if they want to get in and they liked it and they want to expand or whatever, like I could be in the position then to help them expand it, and that could be like their portion of it or whatever, if they have interest. I don't believe in just handing something off like, oh, you're my kid, here you go, because I also believe they need to freaking work for it. And they gotta want to do it, because the last thing I want to do is this is like my fourth baby, hand my baby off that I put so much passion and love into. And I love my children. I'll fight a grizzly bear with one hand and a spatula for my kids. But I don't want to just give them something and then
There's no
they,
appreciation there,
yeah,
if you do
they,
it that
yeah.
way. So
And if they don't have a passion for it, and it's just something for them to do, like the passion's gone, and then the business goes downhill. I feel like
it'll just be that second generation business that we've all watched go down the tube because the kid got it from the parents and didn't
yeah.
have the same passion and energy that the parents did.
Yeah, and I tell people all the time, I was like, I love and I want to make sure my kids, I have a plan for them to have certain things if something were to happen to me. And if I were to make it 10 years or 20 years and I decided, okay, I want to sell the business or something like that, I would probably sit down and talk to them and say, and I would make my own decision as to if I decide to sell and put the money in my pocket, or if they have a passion for it and want to keep it going, they have that opportunity. I will give them up that opportunity. But if nobody has the passion for it and they're not going to run it to the standard that I run it on, I will sell it and I'll put the money in my pocket and I will live out my days like happy as hell. And then when I go, like, you might have a wheel or you might have a bill, who knows, but you got to work for what you get, man. Like, they'll have a little bit, but I'm not going to sit there and just hand in hand and have them thinking that, they're going to walk away. Mama's going to take care of them that long. Like, I raise my children to be independent and to take care of themselves. Like, they know the world don't revolve around them and it don't wait for nobody. Like, they got to roll.
You've got a fresh outlook on a lot of things. Even we started this and I questioned why you went with Megan's Septic Service, but then you pointed out to me, well, I don't want to send someone in under the Septic Queen thing, and just your outlook on succession with the kids. I mean, you have a very fresh outlook. You're kind of sometimes straying from what people consider the norm, but I think in a good way. So it was fun talking to you today. And I know that you jammed us into your schedule, and I don't want you to fall behind, and we're the reason for you not having
No, you're fine.
time. So, hey, thanks for joining us today. And we appreciate it.
No, thank y'all so much. And I will say that being on the cover of Pumper Magazine was probably one of the coolest things that's ever happened to me since I was in business. Dude, do you know the guy that owned Roto-Rooter? Like, his parents started Roto-Rooter. It was this old man called me after I was in Pumper Magazine and talked to me for like 2 hours. Like, he was so cool. Like,
that makes me happy. I've been working here for almost 30 years. And when I started working here, we only had 2 magazines. We had Pumper and we had Cleaner.
Yeah.
And now we have I think 8 or 9.
Dude, yes, and people they love. I wish I would have gotten more copies because I like everybody asks me for it, and people were sending them in the mail to me to sign
Oh
and
boy.
send back to them. What the heck? I was like, and my mom and dad thought it was the coolest thing. I was like, dude, I'm like a whole cover model. And that's when I was blonde headed. Oh my God. I was like a whole cover model. And people just, I mean, it was insane. This year at the wet show, last year at the wet show was when my magazine came out. Well, this year at the wet show, and it sucks because I don't think I'm going to be able to swing it and go because I have so much work backed up. But they put me on an 8-foot by 10-foot picture, like backdrop at the Spartan Tool and Insight Vision booth.
Nice.
It's a freaking picture of me with my TikTok on it. What the heck? I'm gonna be at the wet show, but I'm not really gonna be there. So make sure you look if you go.
You're a septic celebrity. Who would have
It's
thought?
so weird. It's so weird. But I love it. It's my favorite thing. I never would have expected I would be in the business that I'm in now, but I'm so glad that I am, and I've never loved anything anymore. That's half of my problem because I love it. Like I want to be in the septic tanks. I want to be working on D-boxes. I want to be doing stuff hands-on, and that's my biggest. I think it's my biggest like pro, but it's also my biggest con because I can't rip myself away from it and let somebody else do it so that I can go somewhere else and grow a bigger business. But I just want to be all up in the Kool-Aid all the time.
Well, your enthusiasm is obvious. I can't say it's not.
I love it.
Thanks again.
All right. Thank you so much. And if y'all need anything else, just holler.
Visit Megan on social media at the Septic Queen and check out her story in the January 2024 issue of Pumper Magazine at pumper.com. Remember to like and subscribe to keep more great Septic Queen content coming.